Markets continue to inch higher. Nifty nears 21,700. Sensex jumps over 600 points. Broader markets mirroring gains. All sectoral indices in the green, barring media, IT and realty, emerge as the top gainers, while Z drags media lower. And sources say Z and Puneet Goenka are keen to close the merger with good faith negotiations still going on. That's an NDTV Profit exclusive. And the thumbs up coming in from OMCs after oil plunges as much as 4% as Saudi cuts prices to counter Middle East worries. In stellar rally in Adani Group stocks, their total market cap crosses 15.57 lakh crore rupees. Hello and welcome. This is Hot Money. I'm Agam, Vakil, and in this show we take you through all the stocks which are buzzing in trade. But before that, a quick look at the markets which are advancing at the moment, seeing a lot of strength as we speak. And in fact, as far as the Nifty is concerned, higher by nearly 1%. 0.9 to be precise. We are trading near days highs, pardon me. And as far as the Bank Nifty is concerned, well, the picture is not very different. It is in fact the same. We continue to see strength here, returning and about a short covering as well, if you can consider that. To take a look at all the stocks which are moving these indices, starting off with something like the Nifty. Let's take a look at the constituents first and see where there is in fact a lot of strength coming in. So it's L&T, Infosys, HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank pulling the Nifty higher and providing that support. And on the losing end, we have some amount of pressure as far as, Asian Paints is concerned, Britannia and ONGC. So keep an eye on those counters. But it is the broader markets which are clearly doing very, very well in today's day of trade. And to talk about a few gainers, well, right at the top, we have Patanjali Food. That's up 7% as we speak. Another counter which has been buzzing and been advancing is Trident. Trident has been moving from strength to strength of late. And we, in fact, do see another 4.5% up move on this one as well. And then we have JSW Energy up around 3.2%. And Godrej Properties from the real estate sector, that's up around 3.2% as well. And on the losing end, well, Z Entertainment is something that we're going to talk about. That's down around 9.5%. And we also have Polycab, which is down around 4.6%. Polycab is the one which is perhaps problematic here, but it has bounced back from the levels of 5,000. The question is that can we expect a little bit more weakness? It's a wait and watch on that one. But that's as far as your markets are concerned. Let me very quickly take a look at all the stocks that we are going to be talking about in today's day of trade. And this particular edition of Hot Money, well, we are going to address Tata Motors and Bajaj Auto. Tata Motors, of course, on the strong GLR quarterly updates coming in. And Bajaj Auto, where we have that big bonus boost as far as the buyback is concerned. And besides that, we are addressing Z Entertainment and Nykaa. So keep an eye on all these stocks. But to take us through these stocks, we have Ashish Kapoor, who is the CEO in West Shop, who's joining us to perhaps elucidate these trends even further. But before I go back to Ashish, let's take up Tata Motors for now. And, Tata Motors, of course, has had a tremendous update as far as its quarterly updates go. Its wholesales are up. The Jaguar Land Rover wholesales are up as much as 27%. Its order book coming in at around 148K against 168K, which means that they've actually landed up executing their order book as well. And moreover, we also have positive cues when it comes to the different segments. So we are looking at a 1.4% advance for Tata Motors. But Ashish, let me take up Tata Motors with you. How are you assessing the stock? Are you positive, negative, or would you want to avoid at this point in time?
No, I'm certainly positive. The only question is, yes, the run-up has been a lot. So maybe, fresh buying is a question mark. But certainly hold on if you have been lucky enough to buy at lower levels. And I think the turnaround is very real this time. And the management is also managing the whole thing very well, unlike previous times when the leverage used to be increased or new businesses used to be added on. This time, I think the consolidation is very proper and is very real, and I think the scope on the upside is still very huge. I think the turnaround is still in the process, so I think the earning growth capacity is still not fully factored in. I think the stock can, in my opinion, still continue to outperform. And so certainly a hold and a buy also. I think buy maybe we can wait and hopefully get a little better price, but definitely the stock worth having in your portfolio.
Right, absolutely. That's as far as Tata Motors is concerned. Moving on to Bajaj Auto, where we do have updates from the buyback. The board has approved a buyback worth 4,000 crores. And this is the first buyback, well, pardon me, the second buyback in a little over 1.5 years. What we understand is that the 4,000 crore buyback will be carried out at 10,000 rupees per share. And of course, Bajaj Auto, as we know, as you can see on your screen, is somewhere around 7,000 rupees a share. So it is at quite a bit of a premium. That said, besides that, we also have the buyback quantum this time around. It's considerably higher. The 4,000 crores is considerably higher than the previous buybacks, which stood at around 2,500 rupees per share. The question is, what do you do with Bajaj Auto at this point in time? Ashish, your view, what would you recommend?
Well, I think the buyback may sound very big, but as a percentage, is still not anything great. I don't think you will get too much of exit there, but nevertheless gives the confidence to the market that the management itself is ready to buy at a higher price. It's a very positive indicator. And I think apart from that, I think Bajaj Auto, the good thing is their business, which is doing very well. And the other thing is that the two-wheeler, turnaround is also quite real, even in domestic market now. The sales are looking pretty good, and Bajaj has the advantage of a very good export base. So I think the company itself is doing well. So you hold on to the stock for the sake of getting better returns from the company and the positive indication which has come from the management in terms of buyback.
Okay. From there on, we talk about Zee Entertainment. Now, as we've already spoken about the exclusive that we have at NDTV Profit here, sources suggest that Zee Entertainment, along with Puneet Goenka, are keen to close the merger with good faith negotiations still going on. Do remember, when it comes to, well, the grace period, that hasn't expired. We have about 11, 12 odd days in order for that particular period to lapse. That said, of course, we also know about the Bloomberg report suggesting that Sony has, stepped back from the merger at this point in time. But we also have NDTV exclusives suggesting that, at least as far as Zee Entertainment and Puneet Goenka are concerned, well, they are very much on the table and negotiations are still ongoing. So there's plenty of volatility, of course, on account of that, and Zee Entertainment is down as much as 9.3%. The question really is that if you are already invested in Zee Entertainment with the hope that the merger would come through, what would you do at this point in time? Ashish, your view on this one?
Well, actually, very difficult to actually comment on it because, a lot of things are happening behind the closed doors. My sense is that the merger will eventually go through because I think both from Sony and Zee's point of view, it is a very win-win situation because Sony wants to become a big player in the Indian market, and this is the deal which they have to kind of make it go through. And this will propel it to a very leading and big position in the Indian media market. Secondly, I think even for Zee, I think the kind of problems they have gone through, I think this should be the last straw which they have to kind of hold on to. So I think eventually they will, or if not agree with Sony's demands, I think come back to some negotiated deal with them, and I think that the merger will go through. So yes, there is some risk in it. Of course, the merger falls through completely, then of course the stock is headed much lower. But I would still think that there is a very great chance that the merger will eventually go through and the stock will head much higher. So with some risk appetite, I think you should hold on to it. And if, in my opinion, if you're a little brave investor or an investor having some risk appetite, you can try and dabble and buy more on the way down.
All right. Okay. And from there on, we move on to Nykaa. Now, the shares of the company have also seen a little bit of a moderation in today's day of trade. Of course, let's not forget that we also had quarterly updates from Nykaa, which have been subdued on the whole. But today, where we are seeing a little bit of traction there, it's not so much about the top line for Nykaa as much as it's about the bottom line. While we do see a very steady growth for Nykaa and higher teens to 20% in certain quarters, it is a profitability which at this point in time has not been substantial, and which is why it is still deemed, at least on certain EPS metrics, considered to be expensive. But the management, of course, has said that they are going to do whatever they can in order to cut costs so as to see that improvement in profitability going forward. Nykaa has managed to stay in the black over the past few quarters, but perhaps as far as investors are concerned, that may not be enough. But they do tend to look forward, and based on that, we have seen that advance for Nykaa. It's currently trading at about 185 rupees per share, and it's well away from its lows of about 110, 120 odd rupees per share a few months ago. Ashish, your view on something like a Nykaa? It's a retail play, a new age play, a platform play to a certain extent. What would you do with this one?
Well, I think, like rightly said, I think the concern is on the profitability going forward, and also competition seems to be increasing in this segment. So I think the road ahead is fairly difficult, because competition for sure is increasing, with many larger players also entering the cosmetic segment. Though Nykaa has the advantage of having captured the imagination of a lot of the large part of the segment earlier. But I think, having said that, I think the stock has already moved a lot. I would certainly not put a buy recommendation here. You can hold on if you have faith that ultimately the market is going to grow much bigger, and Nykaa has that advantage of first mover. But hold on only as a very small part of your portfolio, and that also with a very long-term kind of perspective. If the money is not for a very long term, I think it's good. The run-up has been quite significant. Time to take some money home.
Okay. All right, Shishi, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us and taking us through the various stocks that we have wanted to address on the show. And on that note, we slip into a short break. But on the other side, we get you the management of EaseMyTrip, and all that could be set for as far as the travel and tourism sector is concerned. Stay tuned in.
last few days, all the buzz has been about Lakshadweep as the new destination. In fact, there are reports that searches for trips to Lakshadweep have increased multifold and people are cancelling their bookings to Maldives. Just a quick 2 lines on what has been happening. It all started with ministers in the Maldivian government making very derogatory and racist comments on a set of pictures put out by Prime Minister Modi on a recent trip to Lakshadweep. And this has sparked this whole Maldives versus Lakshadweep story. But beyond the geopolitics of it and the social media fueled news about it is the question about whether Lakshadweep can become the new sort of destination for Indians looking to holiday. A quick context. India has become one of the big countries which is sending tourists and high-paying tourists across the world. Now, to speak more on this, I'm joined now by Mr. Prashant Pitti. He's co-founder of EaseMyTrip. EaseMyTrip, by the way, was one of the first companies to suspend all packages to Maldives when the controversy broke out and is pushing the Indian island movement as well. Prashant, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for speaking with us here at NDTV Profit. Let me begin by asking you why you suspended packages to Maldives. At the end of the day, it was a bunch of social media comments. The Maldivian government then went on to suspend 3 of the erring ministers. And they have come out and said that these comments, these derogatory comments, did not reflect the view of the government.
Well, Tamanna, it seemed more than that because since there were 3 ministers and their comments came unprovocated. There was no provocation from our side. To us, it looked more like a proxy India-China war. The current Maldivian government is very pro-China. Even in their campaign, they ran India out as one of the campaigns while actually representing themselves for the election. So clearly, it seemed like it is much more than meets the eyes. And the other thing which we thought probably could be is that maybe Maldives always knew that Lakshadweep could be a sleeping giant. And as our Honorable Prime Minister Modi stirred Lakshadweep, it rattled them that it could actually become one of the big tourist destinations.
Yeah. Give us a sense of how many bookings you do on an annual basis to Maldives. Have you cancelled all of those bookings now? Then what happens to the people who book those tickets? And how much interest you're seeing in Lakshadweep? I mean, I'm reading astronomical figures, but what are the numbers that you are seeing?
See, EaseMyTrip commands 20 to 25% market share of all the tickets booked online. And Maldives, last year, 2 lakh passengers flew. Last year, about 3 lakh, but last year, 2 lakh passengers flew to Maldives. And almost half of them make tickets online. So roughly about 20 to 25,000 tickets would have been made from EaseMyTrip last year for Maldives. Now, that's a very substantial number. And we are not doing just mere lip service. We are actually taking a revenue loss. Especially because the trips to Maldives, the hotels, the resorts are quite expensive. Hence, there will be a revenue loss to the company. But in the times of the need, we believe that we should always have nation first as the approach. And honestly speaking, we are a homegrown brand. Whatever we have gotten, this nation only has given it to us. And if we can only pay back during the times when nation needs the most, we are certainly more than happy to do so.
What is the kind of revenue losses you're taking?
As I said, that last year, around 20 to 25,000 tickets to Maldives would have been made using EaseMyTrip. It's going to be hard for me to give you an exact number for this particular year. And by the way, the suspension to book Maldives flight tickets on EaseMyTrip is indefinite. And till the time there's a formal apology from Maldives government or there's a normalcy between India and Maldives as a relationship, the suspension will continue.
So do you refund those who have already booked? Or are these new bookings?
Correct. For all the bookings which have been made, we are honoring those bookings. For the new bookings, we are not allowing any new bookings to be made since yesterday.
Okay. And on the converse side of this story is a lot of social media chatter about how searches for Lakshadweep have gone up. People want to book Lakshadweep, holidays, etc. Are you seeing that on the site? Are you seeing that translate into numbers?
Absolutely. The curiosity and the searches for Lakshadweep have increased manifold. I believe about 3,000% more than the past. And rightly so. Lakshadweep deserves to be known as a travel destination. It's just that the infrastructure right now might not be at the same level where we want it to be. But given the way this government functions and how quickly we were able to make Ayodhya's international airport in only 20 months' time, I wouldn't be surprised 5 years from now if Lakshadweep becomes one of the hot tourist destinations, not just for India, but for the rest of the world too.
Anything you can quantify in terms of bookings or searches on your site for Lakshadweep?
Well, our searches have gone astronomically. As I said, that the numbers have increased by 3,000% in terms of searches. The problem with Lakshadweep right now is that there aren't that many direct flights connecting to the Agati airport. We are in touch with various airlines and requesting them to basically create segments which are directly connecting Lakshadweep to mainland India, Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, and other places. At this moment, I think the majority of the traffic which is getting cancelled for Maldives will have to either go towards Andaman or Goa or Kerala or even neighboring countries like Sri Lanka or others. But I think people will have really hard time putting their pictures of holiday in Maldives at this particular moment. So hence, the voluntary cancellations are coming quite in number.
Okay. Now you spoke about the connectivity issues with Lakshadweep. For someone who's watching this and wants to go and explore Lakshadweep, the beautiful beaches, the coral reefs, etc., can you give us a sense of how much a package would cost in Lakshadweep? What are the kind of flight options? Because I believe there's only one flight a day, which is also a feeder flight from Kochi, nothing directly from any of the large cities, or you have to go by ship. Give us a sense of connectivity and cost.
No, you're absolutely right. There's only one flight a day from Kochi right now, and hence to get a seat to Lakshadweep is going to be a lottery ticket. Given the kind of interest people have right now, it's going to be extremely difficult, but I see a matter of few months before Lakshadweep gets multiple direct flights to most of the mainland locations. And also in terms of packages, Lakshadweep packages are actually quite reasonable compared to Maldives. Maldives is much more expensive compared to Lakshadweep in terms of the pricing of packages. So overall, people will be able to save some money. I think it's a matter of few months. The curiosity has already begun, and I think it's not going to shift. In fact, what we have seen is that people usually want to keep changing their destinations. 5-6 years ago, it was Mauritius time. And since last 4-5 years, it has been Maldives time for Indian tourists. And now our Honorable PM has very aptly and at the right time, he has decided to promote Lakshadweep because I think the next 5 years could be for Lakshadweep.
Yeah, but even so, if someone's watching this and wants to know how much it's going to cost them for a week to go to Lakshadweep, are there enough of such resorts available, and how much would it cost?
There are 4 or 5 good resorts out over there, but yes, we need to do more. I believe that there are a couple of big infrastructure projects which had already started in Lakshadweep some time back, and last night government has also announced some big infrastructure plans in Lakshadweep. At this particular moment, the costing of the packages can vary a lot. If you stay in a budgeted place, it can cost anywhere between 2,000 to 5,000 rupees a night. And if you choose to stay in a 4-star, 5-star property, given the amount of traction it has, it can go anywhere about 25 to 30,000 rupees a night. And that's how the package cost probably would look like at the moment.
Wow, 25 to 30,000 rupees a night is steep, but of course you have a huge appetite by Indian tourists. That brings me to the next question. You talked about Lakshadweep and you talked about Ayodhya. Now we've been hearing a lot about interest for bookings to Ayodhya after the temple is inaugurated towards the end of June, the end of January, end of this month. Can you give us a sense about the kind of bookings you're seeing and what the rates are over there? Because again, the question about enough accommodation coming in.
Well, there's again, I believe whatever our PM touch turns into gold. Ayodhya itself is booming, and I think it can be the next Vatican City for the rest of the world. I really think if I were to bet, I would actually bet more on Ayodhya than anything else. It's got India is known for its pilgrimages, its religion, its spirituality. It can actually become the next Makkah and Medina for spiritual world. And yes, of course, even in terms of hotel availability, resort availability in Ayodhya is less, but all those constructions have been happening for the last couple of years. I believe a lot of inaugurations are happening either in this particular month or a couple of months ahead of us. So with all those inaugurations of big resorts and hotels, along with international airport, which was recently launched, I think Ayodhya is up for taking a lot of passengers in the next 6 to 7 months' time.
Any numbers that you can share with us in terms of bookings on the site for train tickets, flights, etc., and accommodation?
It would be tough for me to share any numbers. We are a listed company, and for me to share any number prior to declaring results is going to be tough.
All right, fair enough. But if you can, give us a sense of your outlook for this year, for this, the rest of the financial year and going into the next financial year, in terms of how you see tourism booming and interest coming in. There is a whole concern about consumption playing out, especially at the bottom of the pyramid. Are you seeing any such concern as far as tourism is concerned and discretionary spends are concerned?
No, none at all. I believe that we are in the golden period of tourism for India, where people have realized that we are a self-reliant and a country who basically values its honors a lot more. And one thing which COVID has taught us in the past is that, life is very fragile, and the best way to live in the present is to travel. So a lot of staycations, a lot of weekend getaways, they are not contributing to foreign destinations. They are only contributing to domestic tourism, which is why I believe that people are seeing a lot more India than what they were seeing before. And for me, I don't see the trend of travel stopping anytime soon.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking with us and giving us a sense of directionally where tourists are moving. Prashant Pitti, co-founder of EaseMyTrip there.
Thank you.